Hello, welcome back to the workshop. My name is Josh. This is my workshop, and today I'm going to talk to you about cheap tools. Is it really buy once, cry once, or can you get away with some cheaper models? Should we have a look? Should we get straight into it then? In front of me, I have a collection of extremely cheap tools. Now, this one, and this one, these are all Parkside. Now, for those of you maybe not in this country, in the States, Parkside is a brand that is sold by Lidl or Lidl over in the US. It's just like super duper cheap tools. This jigsaw, for example, cost me £27, £25, which is what, like 40 bucks. Reciprocating saw, again, cost me 20 quid, I think. Without a battery, they look bare bones, mind. 20 quid without a battery, so what's that, 30 bucks? The batteries are a tenner, the chargers are a tenner, so like whenever they have them in, I just normally pick up a bunch of batteries. Sadly, these ones are only these are only 2 amperes, so they're not as good as like a 4 or 5, but you know, when they're only a tenner each, I can buy like 3 or 4 of them and still be less than 1 Makita battery. They're not heavy, they're not great, you know, they are cheap tools, but they kind of fit the need that I have them for. I have here, I've got Clark framing pneumatic nailer. This was literally the cheapest pneumatic nailer I could buy when I needed one. That was about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago now. This is the Trend Little T4. I did a review on this the other day. A little bit fell off. It's worth the view if you want to go and have a look at me rip something to pieces. This was the cheapest, non-terrible plunging router that I could buy. And it came in at about 75, 80 quid, something like that. So what's that, about 110 bucks? I do buy cheap tools, and if you hadn't noticed, I do this for a living. My Evo saw over there, again, was like £150 saw, miter saw. It's not perfect, but it does the job. So yeah, so I do spend money on stuff. However, I tend not to go like super high end. Apart from, I've got a nice Merca sander and a Festool sander. Everything else is sort of like low range, mid range, because I am firmly of the belief that yes, nice tools make life easier, and if you've got money, spend it, enjoy it, but I don't think you necessarily need to spend the money if you don't have to. If you just want to be able to get by, you can get by with cheap tools. And like I said, right, this isn't perfect. This isn't gonna, you're not going to put this side by side with like a £450, £500 Festool jigsaw and it'd be better, because it's not. But if you're just using it to chop up some pallets, or you just want to cut out some circles or some jigs, or you're going to make some holiday decorations with your kids, it's perfect, right? Same goes for the multi-tool. I'm not trimming out door linings all day to be putting laminate flooring in, so I don't necessarily need a super duper high-end Makita one. And that one that I think, I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't expensive. For the money, you can't knock it. I think I can buy a pack of blades that's cost more than the actual trimmer. The reciprocating saw again, this thing is a bit of a beast. We absolutely hammer this. I've used this for cutting limbs off of branches. I've used it for demo work, like chopping up frames. We use it to cut a lot of pallets down. Yeah, and it never misses a beat. Like, we take the battery, we plug it in, and it works. Like, what more do you need, right? Even my workshop tools, they're not particularly expensive. I haven't got a really nice table saw with a scoring blade on it. My plane and thickness head doesn't have a Helix head on there. And again, that was like £800 when I bought it. It wasn't like £2,000-3,000. It's got cast alley beds on it. And I think everything's relative, right? I don't think you necessarily need to spend the money unless you have to or you want to. So we do a huge amount of sanding in the workshop, and in the past, over the last couple of years, we did a ridiculous amount, to the point where we had to upgrade the tools and the machinery, because so the physical fatigue that it was putting onto our bodies was like, we were in a lot of pain when we went home every night. So we spent a good chunk of money on the dual drum sander. We spent a good chunk of money on the soft form drum sander. Obviously, like I said, we've chucked a bunch of money into the random orbital sanders that we've got. And I think if you need to, that's fine. But I also think that if you want to save a bit of money, you can save a bit of money. Like I said, I wouldn't be going around cutting up worktops on clients' houses with a Parkside jigsaw, but it works, right? And if it works, then why do you necessarily need to spend the money? Framing nailer. I have put so many fences together and made so many sheds, outbuildings, that sort of stuff, and done a whole bunch of framing with that, and it literally has never missed a beat, and it cost me £80. And there were framing nailers that are like £300-400. Again, I've got the Boss Stitch nailer, which was really expensive, but it saved me a huge amount of time. And I guess really that's where a lot of it comes to, for me personally, is how much time and how much fatigue is it going to save us. Obviously, if we're going to save hours and hours on work, then we're going to spend the money, right? So I've got a Lamello Zeta, which is the P2 one, which is obviously a huge amount of money for anybody that knows what they are. And we bought that for doing a signage job. So we had 60 signs to make up. Now each sign was made of 3 different sections of timber from cedar. Now we would have had to have panel glued, so if it's 60 signs, it's 180 pieces of timber. So this, like, I only have a certain amount of clamps, so this would have literally taken us days. However, I think we worked it out, it was going to take 4 to 5 days to do the clamping. Instead, we bought the Lamello, we did all the clamping in about 2.5 hours. So all the panels for that entire job were made in 2.5 hours. That's a ridiculous time saving. And I guess the same thing when it comes to like the sander, it saves us a huge amount of time. We can do it by hand. It's not necessarily an issue. You could use a Parkside jigsaw to cut something out and then sand it back like a sander, like a hand sander, and you'll get just exactly the same finish as what I would by using that and my large belt sander, but it's a lot quicker for us, and obviously time is money. I'm firmly in the mindset of it is nice to have nice gear, it is nice to spend that money, well, it's not nice to spend the money, but it's nice to have the tools, right? It's nice to have the gear. If I had a like 5.5 grand table saw with a scoring blade and dado stack and everything, the time it would save me is immense. And the headaches it would save me are immense. However, that £800 table saw has paid for itself like 100 times over. For me to get to the point, because we've had it like 10 years now, I think, something like that. For me to get to the point where we would have paid back for that 5.5 grand saw, it would take me another like 3 or 4 years or something like that with the way that the work is now at the moment, which is not going to happen, right? There are things I do spend money on, like blades. I like a nice blade, so I buy nice blades for the reciprocating saw because you need a nice blade and the saw just goes backwards and forwards, doesn't it? And I buy nice blades for my mitre saw, I buy nice blades for my table saw. Like a nice, when I say a nice blade, I'm talking like 120 quid, 140 pounds, something like that for some of the nice ones. We do have cheap ones and they work all right for just ripping like rubbish down, but when I'm cutting veneer boards and that, I want a nice blade in there. I do think it's interesting, you know, how much money people spend on tools that they don't necessarily use. When I see people buying like a Festool Capex for, I don't know, £1,400, £1,200, and that saw's going to get maybe used, what, like 8 times a year? That just blows my mind. Because my mitre saw is 150 quid. Now, I think you're upgrading it to a lumberjack, a 12-inch one, but again, that's still not a DeWalt, which is like £800. I think the lumberjack's like 280, something like that with discount. So yeah, and if it works, and it works for what you need it to, why would you spend the extra money? Because what you do is you save your pennies on one side, and then you can spend them on something else, right? Which is perfect. With all that being said then, is it buy once, cry once? I think it depends. I think if you just need something that's going to work, so like you're just breaking up pallets, then a cheapo reciprocating saw is perfect. Same with a jigsaw, right? If you're just doing a bit of fencing, cheapo air nailer is going to be just fine. Same goes for the reciprocating saw. If you just want to cut out a few door linings to be able to put your laminate flooring underneath, spend 15 quid on one, 20 quid on one from Lidl. I don't necessarily think that there's much point in spending a huge amount of money in something that's not going to get the use out of it. I would always recommend people save the money for something that you are going to get use out of. And not just get the use out of it, but it's going to save you time or it's going to save you a headache. So one of the reasons we're going to upgrade the mitre saw is because the cutter's started to go because the bearings are going on it. I need something that's going to give me a solid, decent cut on 4-inch thick material. So obviously that's why I'm going to upgrade that tool. I needed a decent coiler nailer to save me time when I was building chicken hutches, chicken coops, when I was putting on fencing. So again, pick that up and then that's going to save me half a day's work on each project. So that's a big thing. My CNC isn't a £25,000 CNC. However, for the work that we need it to do, it works perfectly. So why spend that additional money when I can keep that money in the pot, or I can use it to invest in other machinery, other tools, which is then going to push our business forward. That's really the ultimate game for me. I guess if you're in the position where you're building up a toolkit because this is a hobby, this is something that you enjoy and you have the money there, then go for it. Chuck the money at the hobby, enjoy it. Everyone else does, you know, you go shooting, it's expensive, fishing. Yeah, shooting, fishing, golf, cars, all those sorts of things guys chuck their money into. It's expensive. If you've got the money, you enjoy it, who am I to say that you shouldn't do it? I'm just talking about from a, is this tool going to improve my skill level? No, it's not. It's going to make, it might make the job easier, but it's not going to improve your skill level because you're only going to improve your skill level by practicing. Now, if you're somebody who quits easily, then yeah, it might be a bit easier to spend the extra money on the tools and have an easier job, right? But that's not me, and I'd rather save the money and invest it in something else, personally. But like I said, that's just my opinion. So be honest then, right? Tell me what you think. Do you think I'm talking rubbish? Do you think I'm talking around my butt? Like I said, I don't have a problem in investing as long as you're investing in the right areas, I guess. What are you going to use the most? What's going to save you the most time? What's going to give you the least headache when you're doing a project? Are you buying a tool specifically to do a project? Are you going to get additional work out of that? If not, probably time to sell it then, isn't it? And get your money back and put it into something else. I don't know, you tell me what you do. I would be really interested because obviously I look at it from sort of like this isn't my hobby, this is what I do to make money for my family and feed my kids. So I have a different viewpoint on it. And don't get me wrong, I love my job. Like, I love being here. I love being able to figure problems out for clients. I love it when people come to me with an idea on the back, literally on the back of a napkin or a piece of paper. The other day, recently I've been working with some magicians. They came to me with a piece of paper that says, hey look, this is the idea that I've got. Can you build it? Yes, I can. Bring it on. That I absolutely adore. But within reason, the tools that I have don't necessarily change how I do that. Like I said, I have cheap miter saw, relatively cheap table saw, cheap planer, cheap sanders, cheap bandsaw. It's all cheap, right? It's all lower end, and I would argue I produce some quite tasty work with it, right? I mean, if you think I'm talking rubbish, by all means tell me. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog, right? It's not the tool that makes the workman. It's not the tool that makes the workman, it's the workman that makes the tool. No, I think that's rubbish as well. I don't know. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm trying to say, after the 15th time I'm trying to say it, is you don't have to spend money if you don't want to. If you want to save your money, put it somewhere else. Do that. Yes, it might be a little bit more difficult. It might be a little bit more involved. However, if you want to do the hobby, if you want to do this as a business, you want to do this as a profession, then that's something you really need to think about, isn't it? That being said, as a quick caveat before I go, would I turn up on site with these tools? Probably not, but then maybe I would. I don't know. If it was, hey look, I need a tool to get me out of a jam and I'm never going to use it again, yeah, I probably would. I wouldn't have two qualms about taking a reciprocating saw that cost me 25 quid down to a building site if all I'm doing is demo work, because why does it matter? Use it till it breaks and then get another one. It's that simple, innit? But yeah, anyway, look, that's my thoughts, that's my ramblings for today. Sorry it's not a project video or another review video. I am really hard set for time at work at the moment. If there's something you'd like me to do, if you'd like me to rip one of these apart and show you what it looks like on the inside, let me know. If there's a project you'd like to see me try, let me know. All that being said, I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know any thoughts you have in the comments, and you have a great day. And if you've enjoyed watching the video, please have a think about maybe hitting the subscribe or the like button, because it'd really help me out. Thank you very much. Have a great day. You take it easy, alright?